So while I was in Anambra, I was staying with my mom's people. My mom's family rallied behind me and gave me so much love and support. Uncle John, Uncle Jude, Uncle Oke, Uncle Augie, Uncle Emeka, Auntie Vivian, Auntie Anne, Auntie Com, Auntie Uni. Thank you so much for all the love. To my cousins who were beside me, days where I just wanted to get into a fetal position and cry. Oni, you made me laugh. Chinyenye, you are the best. Chijoke Ebuka, thank you so much for your love and your support. When I finally was cross-examined by their lawyers, the judge now said I had fulfilled my obligation and that I no longer had to come to Nigeria, to Anambra, for the court cases, that my lawyer can now take over on my behalf. And so I felt like I had done everything humanly possible to see that I followed my God, the God of justice, in making sure that I gave my evidence, my testimony, and did everything I needed to do to ensure that the court matter was being handled in the proper and legal ways. Leaving Anambra after a successful court appearance, I killed cross-examination. I'm so proud and so happy to be through this process. I've really come a long way, but I give God the ultimate glory. Don't do evil, it doesn't pay. I just want to note that because nobody died, thank God, Josephine and Francis were eligible for bail, and the judge did grant them bail. I was a little bit upset because I did think that they should have spent time in jail throughout the court cases, but the Holy Spirit told me, Ifunanya, none of that matters. I went back to the US and just began going back to work and trying to figure out what my new normal would be now that myself and my family were now caregivers to my father. My dad was being seen by physical therapists, being seen by occupational therapists. However, he had a crippling fear that every single time he would stand up, he would fall down. And so it didn't help to speed up the process to get him back to full restoration, but we were believing in God that he would be able to walk again. Through the use of a walker, my dad is now able to be more mobile. However, he cannot walk on his own. But that doesn't matter because with life, there is hope, and we're still believing and praying to God for full restoration. While we were now adjusting to the new normal, I got a knock on the door, and it was a white man with some documents in his hand. And when I opened the documents, I now saw that Gabriel was now trying to gain guardianship over my father so that he can send him back to Nigeria. He has submitted the documents through his own lawyer here in the United States that he wants guardianship because my father is incapacitated and that he's working in the best interest of my father. When I saw those documents, I began to panic because guardianship basically means that you have full control over this person, what they do with their finances, where they live, how they spend their money. And after finishing the court cases in Anambra and to now be served with these documents that Gabriel was now trying to get guardianship over my dad, because maybe I guess he realized that his power of attorney could only take him so far, the Holy Spirit said that this court case will never see the light of day. I got a call, court-appointed lawyer that was representing my dad. He asked me a series of questions, and I said, listen, if Gabriel wants to take this matter to court, so be it. I will fight tooth and nail to make sure that this judge is given all evidence that shows that even during Gabriel's power of attorney over my father, he mishandled it. He misused my father's finances. And if Gabriel is using his own hand to cause himself damage, I'll be right there to provide all the evidence needed. 1 week later, the court-appointed lawyer for my dad said, hey, Gabriel no longer wants to proceed with, this guardianship anymore, that as long as he hears from your dad, he's asking for a 10-minute conversation with your dad just to make sure that he is okay. I said, Gabriel will never speak to my father. He will never have that right to have a 10-minute conversation with my dad. Where was that 10-minute conversation when my dad was locked up in the room? Where was that 10-minute conversation when I was asking Gabriel to make sure that my dad was okay? Where was that 10-minute conversation when he now found out how badly mistreated my dad was, and rather than coming to our aid, he only began to make more threats and be a bully to me and my family? I told the lawyer, nope, if the court case needs to continue, so be it, but I'm not going to pacify his actions with a 10-minute conversation to a man that, in my opinion, he's hurt dearly. A week later, I received a letter from Gabriel's lawyer saying that Gabriel no longer wants to proceed with the guardianship. And in my head, I said, this man, his heart, wherever it is not with God. How dare you try and get guardianship over my father? And in the court documents, he states that his intentions were to send my dad back to Nigeria.